Now that the Brooklyn Nets have announced that Kevin Durant is staying in Brooklyn and he's no longer available to be traded, I think we're going to see a lot of other teams try to make a couple of moves before the training camp starts. We already saw that with the Lakers trading for Patrick Beverley. And I think there's some other teams out there that are willing to make a couple of last minute moves. So let's take a look at this article from Bleacher Report by Zach Buckley. Shout out to them. One trade for every NBA team before the 2022 training camp begins. Let's get into it. First off, we got the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks will receive Kelly Oubre Jr., James Bouknight, 2023 first. Charlotte will receive Clint Capella. Actually, I'm not mad at this at all. I've said for a while, Charlotte needs a better upgraded center. I'm ready for Onyeka Okongwu to step up into that starting role for the Hawks. Kelly Oubre would give some wing versatility, especially after you got rid of Kevin Huerter. I also think Oubre is solid defensively, or at least could be. He's got the body for it and athleticism. They don't need to do this. And a lot of people have told me that, especially Hawks fans, have told me they want to keep Capella. I'm not mad at trading him for something else either. I really like that for the Hornets, though. I think he'd be great for Charlotte. Boston Celtics would get Kenyon Martin Jr., 2024 second for Peyton Pritchard. I don't think that's bad. I like Peyton Pritchard, but Kenyon Martin Jr., he's solid as well, and you pick up a second round pick. It's solid, but it ain't crazy. Brooklyn Nets receive Miles Turner for Joe Harris, Deron Sharp, 2023 first pick via Houston or Philly. I like this for them because I do think they could benefit from a better center, especially defensively. A lot of people gas the stretch five ability from Miles Turner. He's not really a stretch five. Look at his 3-point percentage. It's really not there. I think he just has a reputation of being one. I do think losing Joe Harris would be big for them, though, because he is an elite floor spacer when it comes to shooting and creating driving range for Kevin Durant, Kyrie, and especially with Ben Simmons on your team, you're going to want to have as much spacing as possible. I like Miles Turner for the Nets, but I don't like losing Joe Harris. Charlotte Hornets. Charlotte Hornets will get Jakob Poeltl. Hey, for PJ Washington, Kai Jones, 2023 second pick via either one of those guys. Once again, for the Charlotte Hornets, this makes sense. Very similar to what we just talked about Clint Capella. Upgraded center. Jakob Poeltl is a really solid guy. You would lose PJ Washington, Kai Jones. I don't think that's crazy to lose those guys for Jakob. And for the Spurs, it would be getting a couple of second round picks, some younger guys, remaining young. I'm not mad at that. I really like it for the Hornets. Chicago Bulls. Isaac Okoro for Kobe White in 2026 second pick and 2027 second pick. This one I want to see what they have to say. Added tenacious defense presidents like Okoro stuff here. So they're talking about the potential defensive impact Okoro would bring here, saying added tenacious defense president like Okoro will help safeguard Chicago from a similar free fall like when Lonzo and Caruso went down. I know some guys are really high on Kobe White in the Chicago Bulls world. I don't know how Bulls fans feel about this. I don't necessarily love it, but I can see it. Cleveland Cavaliers receive Reggie Bullock in a future first for Colin Sexton in a sign and trade. I don't think that's terrible, especially because one of the things that unlocked the Dallas Mavericks offense so much was having a consistent guy that Luka could share the ball with. But now Jalen Brunson's no longer there, so it's been a question mark of whether Spencer Dinwiddie is going to be able to step up and fill that role. I think Colin Sexton will be able to fill that role really well. Reggie Bullock is a guy who can shoot the ball well, be able to space the floor well, play some defense for the Cavs. I like this. And especially considering the Cavs really probably aren't going to play Colin Sexton that much because they're sold on Darius Garland. I think this is a really solid trade for both teams. Dallas Mavericks in their world with Kemba Walker. Nope. I'd take Colin Sexton over Kemba Walker. Straight up. We just talked about Colin Sexton going there in a sign and trade. If I'm the Mavericks, I'd get Colin Sexton over Kemba Walker. He's younger, more potential upside. We know what Kemba Walker is going to do. And if anything, he's only going to decline as he gets older. So the Dallas Mavericks will get Kemba Walker. The Pistons receive Dwight Powell in the 2025 second. The only good part about this is you get to keep Reggie Bullock. So I guess if you really want to keep Reggie and get another guard and that way you can do this. But I like the Colin Sexton trade a little bit more. Denver Nuggets. Vanderbilt for Peyton Watson. I like that. I like that a lot. Especially if the Utah Jazz are going into let's just blow it all up mode. Like if they do trade Donovan Mitchell, they have a lot of good pieces to kind of get off of. Jared Vanderbilt would be a great backup to play after Jokic or maybe even play alongside Jokic if needed. The Detroit Pistons receive Danny Green, 2023 second round pick via Minnesota, 2024 second round pick via Indy, Utah. Memphis Grizzlies would get Alec Burks. why would the Pistons do this unless they just want to dump Alec Burks' salary? Because Danny Green's not going to play this year because of the ACL injury, and I want to say he's a free agent at the end of this season. So unless they just want to dump Burks' contract, I don't know why they would do this. Let me see. Pistons have no reason to push the accelerator and could instead consider a downshifting deal like this would make it harder in the 2023-2024. Okay, so this is a tank job. Detroit's immediate outlook, meanwhile, likely features a lot of losses, even more growing pains, and hopefully a decent lottery odds for Victor Wembanyama. Okay, this is because I'm like, why would you get rid of Alec Burks for Danny Green in some seconds? This is a tank job. I'm not mad at it. Golden State Warriors, Mason Plumlee, James Bouknight, 2 future first rounds for Jordan Poole and James Wiseman. Wow. This would surprise me a lot, and this is a we don't want to play Poole and Wiseman move. If they don't want to pay them, then sure, you go get Plumlee, Bouknight, and 2 future firsts. If you do want to pay them, this doesn't make sense at all. This is really all about, once again, you see right here, massive payroll. This would be a money move. This is when it comes down to the NBA is a business. On the court, basketball-wise, I don't like it. But I can see them doing it because they just know they won't be able to afford to keep both of those guys if they pan out to be what we think they can. Houston Rockets would receive Donovan Mitchell for Eric Gordon, Kevin Porter Jr., Kenyon Martin Jr., Usman Garuba, I might have said his name wrong, I apologize. 2023 first round, 24 first round, 26 first round, and 28 first round. But these 2 are Brooklyn's. We don't know what they're going to look like in that time frame. 2023 for Milwaukee is not really going to be worth much because they're still going to be nice if they have Giannis. Now, what's funny, because I've said multiple times for the Rockets, they need a playmaking point guard to help distribute the ball with some of those scorers they got in that team. Donovan Mitchell is not that guy. I love him too, but he's a bucket getter. He's not a distributor. Nah, I don't like this one at all. And I don't even like the picks that the Jazz would even get back. This Milwaukee pick's not going to be worth much. 2024, KD would still be in Brooklyn. That's not going to be worth much. 2026, that's going to be I want to say the last year of his contract if he has 4 years left. So I don't even know if that's going to be worth much. And the 2028 first round pick is weird too. I don't like this. I don't like this one at all. And yeah, the Pacers, okay. Pacers received Joe Harris, Cam Thomas. Oh, well, this is one we looked at. Joe Harris, Cam Thomas, 2027 first, and Brooklyn SC Miles Turner. We looked at this one. I've said what I said before. For the Pacers, I like it. It makes sense. For the Pacers, Joe Harris would be some great spacing for them to play alongside Tyrese. I like Miles Turner on the Nets. I just really wish they could do it without losing Joe Harris. That's my only hiccup for this if I'm a Nets fan. Los Angeles Clippers receive Kenyon Martin Jr. for Jason Preston in 2023 second. I don't mind this. I think the Clippers already have a lot of depth in that forward position, obviously with PG and Kawhi, but you still have like Robert Covington, you still have Nicholas Batum. But I mean, I think he could find a way to get into this roster and get into the rotation. I was hoping the Clippers would have something for the Clippers to get a better backup center. I love Zubac, but he can't play all 48 minutes of every game. After that, you're going to see a lot of Robert Covington playing in this 5 spot. I was hoping they could at least get maybe a better power forward or center trade for them in this. It is what it is. Los Angeles Lakers, of course, is Miles Turner and Buddy Hield for Russell Westbrook 2027. First round pick, top 3 protected in the 2029 first round. Let me tell you right now, hey, Lakers, Bleacher Report. If this trade happens, if they get Miles Turner and Buddy Hield, you're going to have to take off these protections, bro. You're going to have to take off these protections because, like we've already seen, I think the Pacers, if they wanted to move Miles Turner, if they really wanted to, they can get better than just Russell Westbrook and 2 first-round picks and one of them be top 3 protected. You got to take those protections off or this trade is not happening. I don't think the trade is happening regardless. I don't see a world where the Pacers just trade for that to buy out Russ or let him sit and the contract run out. It just doesn't make sense to me to only get basically 2 picks and one of them be top 3 protected. I'm very surprised to see that there. And honestly, this is the only time I've seen when all the trade rumors, this is a rumor that we've seen and heard about for a while. This top 3 protection stuff, this is the first time I've seen that, and that's crazy. Memphis Grizzlies would get Josh Richardson for Danny Green. 2023 second from Minnesota, 24 second from Toronto, 25 second from the Pelicans. I'm not high on second round picks. They are what they are. They're just used as cannon fodder for more stuff. Josh Richardson, it could be cool because especially considering the Memphis Grizzlies lost Kyle Anderson, maybe he can refill some of that role. Honestly, I think Kyle Anderson is better than Josh Richardson, to keep it a beam with you, but maybe he can add some offense for them. Miami Heat receive Harrison Barnes for Duncan Robinson, Nikola Jovic, and Omer Yurtseven, the 2027 first. For the Heat, this ain't crazy. They don't love Robinson. We saw that because the shot was iffy. Well, I'll say that. The shot was iffy, and if the shot's not falling, he's not doing much. But Harrison, he shoots the ball well. He can kind of put the ball on the ground a little bit, do a little bit of everything. I like Harrison Barnes' game. I like Nikola Jovic with Miami, kind of. But I've said before, I was iffy on what his development would look like because he's a rookie, and I feel like rookie big men develop a little slower. If he wasn't performing to what the Miami wanted, they probably would have, or I could see a world where they would have sat him a little bit and stunted some of his development. The Kings, on the other hand, they are a young team. He's definitely gonna get some play time. He could play alongside of Sabonis in Sacramento, or even come off the bench for Sabonis. I like this. The Kings would miss Harrison Barnes, I think, but Duncan Robinson, if he finds a shot, that can add to some of the spacing that the Kings were struggling with last year. Defense is still going to be trash for the Kings. They didn't get any better defensively. Jovic might be able to do something. I've heard Miami Heat fans high on him defensively as well, mainly because of his height. But I like this trade for both teams. I'll say that. This is one of the trades I like for both teams. The Milwaukee Bucks. Okay, Bogdanovich for Lopez and George Hill. So this would be going all in on Bobby Portis if you get rid of Lopez. He is getting older, maybe losing a step, but he's still solid and very serviceable for this Milwaukee Bucks team. And I think he was they missed him going into the season. Like, it was a part of the season when he was out this last year. He came back for the playoffs, but I don't think he was fully him healthy self, so he looked a little off. But Brook is still really good. George Hill is solid. I don't love him, but he's solid. But Bogdanovich would be really nice for them. That's a guy who can create his own shot. That's nice. Bogdanovich and Middleton and Giannis. He can space the floor. He can create his own shot too. And I think that team potentially at times does miss another guy who can create his own outside of Middleton and Giannis. I know Holiday can do it a little bit, but that's not really where you want his focus to be. I just think they're going to miss Brook Lopez in this. But you got to give up Brook to get Bogdanovich. I understand that piece. I like it though. I would like to see Bogdanovich on this team just to see what it would look like. Minnesota Timberwolves, Mike Conley and Jordan Clarkson for D'Lo in the 2023 second. D'Angelo Russell fans, let me talk to you real quick. I don't want you to call me crazy, but how better at this point in their careers is D'Lo from Conley? And the combo of Conley and Clarkson, we already know Clarkson can spark it up as a six-man role. Conley is not as great as he used to be defensively as he's getting older, but he's solid. And to D'Angelo Russell's defense, he has improved his defense throughout the years. I think he still carries a reputation of a bad defender. He's not a bad defender. I wouldn't call him great by any means, but he's good. He's solid. He's definitely good. This would be the type of move that the Timberwolves do, and very similar to the Rudy Gobert move. This is a move that shows me they really believe in Anthony Edwards. Because if you do this move, Mike Conley would be more of the playmaker, not necessarily looking to score. The ball would be in Anthony Edwards and Cat's hands a lot. Jordan Clarkson be a spark off the bench. I don't mind this. I think that'd be smooth, especially the Clarkson part. The Clarkson part is what sells it. If it was just Conley for Russell, off the top of my head, I don't know what their contracts are, so I don't know if that would even make sense. But if it was just Conley for Russell, I'd be like, nah. But adding Clarkson in, it really sweetens the deal. And this is what I'm talking about when I say the Jazz have really good role players. Once they decide to go all in with this rebuild, the Jazz have good role players that teams are going to want. The New Orleans Pelicans, TJ McConnell for Garrett Temple, Kira Lewis, 24 second via Chicago. Yeah, I don't think this is terrible. I like TJ back from the Sixers days. He's a scrappy defender. He's just a really scrappy guy that brings a lot of energy. He's a okay-ish playmaker at times. Like, he's not elite at anything, but he's solid. Like, he's a guy who's just a solid guy in the league. He could come off your bench. He could start, but you don't want him as your starting point guard if you're trying to be good. I'll be honest with you. But he's a solid guy who can give you 20 minutes off the bench, 15, 20 off the bench. And if you're the Pelicans, you're not really looking to make a big splash anyway, because you need to see what type of roster you have with Zion coming back. I'm not mad at this. The New York Knicks, obviously it's going to be Donovan Mitchell. Let's see what they say for it. Evan Fournier, Obi Toppin, quickly. 25 first round, 25 first round, top 4 protected from Milwaukee. Okay. 27 first round, 29 first round. So 1, 2, 3 unprotected, and then the top 4 protected from Milwaukee. Milwaukee's not going to be top 4 in 2025, so you're almost guaranteed to get that. Then you get Fournier, Toppin, and Quickly. Evan Fournier, I'm not really excited about, I'll be honest. Obi Toppin and Emmanuel Quickly, I think are solid, or at least could have some potential there, especially Obi. I don't want to say high on him, but I think he has some potential to be solid in the league. Evan Fournier, I think you know what you're going to get with him. Going to get, if he's playing like Orlando Evan Fournier back in the day, you're going to get a 20-point score on some solid efficiencies and not playing any defense. New York Knicks will receive Donovan Mitchell, somebody who could put butts in seats and sell some tickets, but I don't necessarily think it's going to make this team a crazy playoff team. They probably will be a play-in team / a bottom play-in lock, potentially, maybe. I don't really know off the top of my head, but it almost feels inevitable at this point that the Jazz are going to send him to New York. I think it just depends on what the deal is. And so, unless somebody just decides to come in way over the top and outbid them, I think he's going to end up in the New York Knicks. Oklahoma City Thunder. Let me find out. More draft picks, maybe? No. Gary Trent Jr. for Derek Favors, Darius Bazley, Theo. Why would they do this? No, well, the reason I'm looking all crazy is Gary Trent Jr. to me is a really solid guy. Like, Gary Trent Jr. is a great, you can either start him or he's a great guy to come off a six-man role. But to me, Gary Trent Jr. fits on a team that's trying to win games because he's going to help you win games. I don't think the Thunder are in a position that they want to win games yet. At some point in the not so distant future, the Thunder will start converting some of their long-term assets into win now accelerators. Is that time likely to be now? Not at all. Okay. OKC has plenty of talent, plus it wants to maximize the lottery odds. The Victor Wembanyama, Scoot Henderson, you know what I mean? I understand that. Trent is just 23. That is true. He is young. He's just nice. Now, the only thing I have issues with this, yes, they point out that Gary Trent Jr. is only 23 years old. A very good 3-and-D wing, and I get that. Almost, you know, I talked about almost being a 28 game guy, 18.3. The issue I have with this is very similar to what they do with SGA now, even last year. They're going to be playing these guys, but then you're going to look up at the end of the season, towards the end of the season, that they're going to be sitting a lot of games. They're only playing a half, stuff like that, because they're going to be trying to tank. They're already doing that to SGA, and SGA is one of the guys I really like. I don't want to see them also do that to Gary Trent Jr. But in a world where 2 years from now, when those guys are 25-ish, Gary Trent will be 25, the rest of the guys will be like mid-20s, entering primes, and you got maybe Victor Wembanyama or Scoot Henderson on the team 2-3 years from now, it could be a really good team. I just don't want to see Gary Trent Jr. on the Thunder next season because I feel like that'd be a waste. I think I want them to trade SGA to keep it a bean. I've been saying that for a while. Orlando Magic, Donovan Mitchell, okay, for Jonathan Isaac, Suggs, Terrence Ross, 23 first round, top 4 from Chicago. They probably won't be top 4, so they're gonna get that. 25 first round, top 5 from Denver, 27 first round pick. I guess if the Jazz were high on Isaac and Suggs, that could be better than the Knicks trade, but these picks from the Magic aren't as good as what I think the Knicks picks could be, because they come from Chicago and Denver, and we know both of those teams are going to be solid, so those are probably going to be low draft picks. Well, let's see what they got from my Sixers. Sixers received Corey Joseph, 23 second round pick for Thibault and Jaden Springer. This one's interesting to me. I know we talk about Matisse a lot as Sixers fans in terms of the defense is there, the offense isn't really giving you much of anything. If Matisse Thybulle can shoot the ball at a 35 to 36% clip, he would be extremely valuable for a lot of teams, but he can't yet, and I don't know what he's going to look like. Corey Joseph, is a great shooter. There's not a lot of volume there. For example, last season he shot 41% from 3, which sounds great, but he only attempted 2.5 threes a game, made 1 a game, and that was in 24-minute sample size. So defensively, he's a little undersized. He's 6'3". He would just add to the rotation of players. He wouldn't start or anything like that. They talk about Corey Joseph's defense of, sound decision-making, pesky defense. He's a little undersized. I think he would be obviously a better fender than somebody like Furkan on the team. But in terms of what he would bring offensively, I think he'd bring something very similar to what Furkan Korkmaz does, which is just some three-point shooting. It really just would depend if they want to pay Thibault. If they don't want to pay Matisse next season, then yeah, make the trade. If you think there's a world where you want to keep Matisse on the team, you do pay him, you give him that extension, then you don't make this trade. Because the second round pick for Memphis or Washington ain't really going to do much to move the needle for me personally. The Phoenix Suns would get Terrence Ross, 2024 second for Landry Shamet. I gotta really quickly look and see what Terrence Ross did last season. I'll be honest, I didn't watch a ton of Magic James. So I get the concept here. Shamet's a better shooter. Ross only shot 29% from 3 last year. I don't know where his 3-pointer went, because for his career, he's 36%. So if we can find that back, it'd be solid. They're talking about this trade would be happening if they don't want to pay Landry. If the Phoenix Suns don't want to pay Landry, they would make this move because they have to pay or replace Cam Johnson and Drake Crowder by next summer. Both of those guys who I think are solid. It just depends how much you think they would be worth. And Shamet's owed $10 million next year. So, maybe they try to move off of him. I don't love it though. I'll be honest. This is one of those trades where, like, I get it as the business sense to try to make some money or save some money, but it does not make you better as an organization. Portland Trailblazers would get Kendrick Williams, can't be traded until January 16th. And the Thunder receive Keon Johnson in the 24 second. Basically saying this would make the roster more reliable. Keon Johnson is still, I don't want to say project, but still young. And then you get Kendrick Williams. I don't like this trade. I'll be honest. I don't like this trade. I don't think it does much for either team. The Thunder or the Blazers. I don't think it does much for either team. Sacramento Kings would get Wiggins for Harrison Barnes. Kevin Huerter can't be traded until after August 30th in the future first-round pick. So this would be we don't want to pay Wiggs, so Kings, you can have them. If I'm the Kings, I don't make this deal because the reason you got Kevin Huerter was to spread the floor. I love Andrew Wiggins. He was an all-star last year, but he's not really a floor spacer like that. He can knock down an open three, but Kevin Huerter can do it definitely at a higher clip. And Andrew Wiggins, he doesn't need to have the ball in his hands, but he's a guy who you would like to be able to make a play every now and then. I don't love it. I think the Kings have made enough moves that they should just see where this roster goes. The Golden State Warriors be doing this because they don't want to pay Wiggs, and that I would understand. The San Antonio Spurs, Mason Plumlee, PJ Washington, James Bouknight for Jakob Poeltl and Josh Richardson. I think we talked about this one before because I like the Hornets getting Jakob. And they're adding Josh Richardson to this. I don't know if that was in the earlier one. They would be able to stay young. Plumlee's solid. PJ's solid. I don't mind it. Especially if the Spurs are trying to, retool and start to tank a little bit. The Toronto Raptors receive Miles Turner, TJ McConnell, 23 first-round pick, top 12 protected from Boston. Interesting. But they're going to get it. Because Boston's not going to be a top 12 pick. There's no way. The Pacers receive OG, Kim Birch, Malachi Flynn. I don't mind this. I think OG is very valuable for the Pacers. I mean, OG is very valuable to the Raptors, but I think there is a world where it's like, okay, we have enough guards, we have enough wings type vibes. And Miles Turner would be nice because I've talked about this before. I know a lot of Raptors fans love their switchability and they run a lot of Siakam at the 5, but I do think there would be some value of having a defensive anchor center like Turner. Spacing would be weird on that team, though. I ain't gonna hold you. The Utah Jazz, of course, is going to be about the Donovan Mitchell-Knicks trade, so we already talked about. Quentin Grimes, Obi Toppin, Derrick Rose, Cam Reddish. This one's different than the one that they said for the Knicks, though. Is this not different than the one they said for the Knicks? Let me just see. Yeah, Evan Fournier, Obi Toppin, Emmanuel Quickly here. But then if you go to the Jazz down at the bottom, it's Quentin Grimes, Obi Toppin, Derrick Rose. So they have different trades. So they do have different trades listed under the Jazz for the Jazz-Knicks trade versus what they have under the Knicks for the Knicks-Jazz trade. I guess mainly just point out that there are a lot of options that the Knicks could give up. This one is Quentin Grimes, Obi Toppin, Derrick Rose, Cam Reddish. Honestly, if I'm the Knicks, and I think they did this from the perspective of the teams to try to make it better for that team. Because if I'm the Knicks, I am trying to keep Derrick Rose. He was great as a 6-man for them. I think he can continue to be great as a 6-man for them. 23 first, 23 first, lottery protected via Washington, 25 first, 26 first. But if you're Jazz, I can understand trying to get Derrick Rose, but at the same time, there's no point because if you're doing all of this, you are trying to blow it up. So don't make Derrick Rose play on a bad team. Let him stay in New York and try to fight for the playoffs. And last but definitely not least, we have the Washington Wizards. Washington Wizards received John Collins, Justin Holiday for Kuzma, Will Barton, Rui Hachimura, 25 second round, 26 second round. For Washington and Judas, they got to be really high on John Collins. And I know a lot of people in the league that are not high on John Collins. I like his game a lot, but I think there are some room and places where he can grow. But Kyle Kuzma, because honestly, Kuzma and John Collins are very interchangeable to me. Call me crazy, but I think their skill sets are the same. I think their talent level is very, very similar. I might give a slight edge to Collins, but if somebody made the argument to give an edge to Kuzma, I wouldn't be mad at it. Like, I do think they're comparable. But then adding Rui Hachimura and Will Barton to cover just Justin Holiday and all the picks, I'm not that high on John Collins, because Justin Holiday, to me, no disrespect, but he's just an added piece. Like, he's not a really crazy needle mover for them. For me, I like Kuz, I like Will, I like Rui. I'm not doing this if I'm the Wizards. I'm actually very surprised that this is an offer here, because I don't think Collins is worth all of this. Collins is not worth all of this. But that's all for today. Just running through some trades. Some of them I like, some of them I don't. That's kind of what happens when you go through a Bleacher Report article. Some things you are going to like, some things you're not going to like. I'm looking forward to the season starting, and I'm really curious to see what trades we will see before training camp, because I do think we'll see a couple of more. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. I'm out. Peace.